So Guy recently updated his classic book, The Art of the Start. And I know in my classes, I use The Art of the Start because I think it is one of the most practical, pragmatic, insightful, no bullshit approaches to how you start up a company, how you accelerate a company, how you act as an entrepreneurial leader. And with this updating, given all that's happened in the decade or so since it was first written, Guy brings it right to 2015. So please join me in welcoming my friend Guy Kawasaki for an overview of this great book.
Such an intro. Thank you very much, Mark. I hate those kind of intros, and I have to live up to it. So, my name is Guy Kawasaki, as you heard, and you got a pretty complete explanation of who I am. Today, I'm going to do a very short keynote about the art of the start. Not about the book, but about the topic of starting companies. I always use a top 10 format for my speeches. If you've never seen me speak before, it's because I've seen so many high-tech speakers, and I'll tell you, most of them suck. And so you've seen the same ones I've seen. Most of them suck, and most of them also go long. And that is a very deadly combination. Because if you suck and you're short, it's okay. And if you're great and you're long, also okay. But if you suck and go long, that's like being stupid and arrogant. And so I use the top 10 format for all my speeches so that in case you think I suck, you know about how much longer I'll suck. I have exactly 10 key points. So this is the Art of the Start 2.0. I think the genesis of great companies is that they ask simple questions. I know a lot of people think, 25 years ago or so, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, Bill Gates, they all had this megalomaniac idea that we'll introduce an operating system, then apps, and then we'll have an online service, we'll have gaming, and pretty soon we'll control the entire ecosystem. And Steve and Woz said, well, we'll make a personal computer, and then someday we'll make a phone, and then we'll make a tablet, and then we'll make a music player, and then we'll have a digital store online, and then we'll process payments for people. And my experience is that those kind of conversations never take place. That great companies start with very, very simple questions. I'll give you some examples of simple questions. First simple question, let's say you have a vision, a passion, that you expect something to happen. And so you ask yourself, well, if this happens, therefore what? What are the opportunities? So if we could go back 20 years, let's say that deep in your heart you thought, someday everybody will have a phone. That phone will have a good camera in it. That phone with a good camera will be on an internet. So people could share pictures. So if you came to this conclusion, phone, camera, connected, and you ask yourself, therefore what? You might create SmugMug, or you might create Flickr, or you might create Snapchat. So this kind of question is, if you have a prediction, therefore, what are the opportunities because of the prediction? Second question is, isn't this interesting? So the way this happens, two engineers, they create something, they're trying to create one thing, by accident, they create another thing. And it's possibly a failure. And yet, the failure is interesting. So the classic analog example that everybody uses for this is, of course, Post-it pads, right? So 3M is in the chemical business, and of course they're trying to make strong glue. That's the goal, because who wants a weak glue? But they make a very weak glue that leaves no trace, that you can stick on something and then pull that thing off, and that creates Post-it. So I bet at some point those disappointed scientists at 3M says, well, isn't this interesting? We've created a glue that's so weak, it'll hold the paper up, but if you pull the paper off, it leaves no trace. Isn't this interesting? And a third simple question is there a better way? And I think this is the genesis of Apple. That back in the 1970s, if you wanted to use a computer, you had to go to a university, you had to go to a large company, you had to work for the government. So Steve and Woz at some level asked, is there a better way? Why can't computers be smaller and cheaper and easier to use? So they started Apple. perhaps Larry and Sergey asked themselves, is there a better way to rank search results? Maybe we should measure inbound links. Is there a better way? So step number one for you entrepreneurs is to not have these sort of long-range megalomaniac plans. Just ask a very simple question. Step number two is to make what I call an MVVVP. So I know you all read Eric Ries's book and you all know about the minimum viable product, okay? I want you to add another V to this MVP. So the V in MVP stands for viable. I think you should add another V, and that V is valuable. So you need to make something that is valuable and viable. Valuable meaning that it changes the world, that it makes a dent in the universe. It's not simply a way to make a buck, but it is something that makes the world a better place. And the third V is validating, that your prototype, your first product, it validates your vision for the world, your prediction for how the world will evolve, so that somehow it in essence proves what you have as a thesis for how the world will evolve. And so I'll show you a negative example. So let's say that Apple decides it's going to go back into the laser printer business, okay? Apple decides, John Ive has decided that, oh, we at Apple, we're going to make a squarer, blacker pixel, right? And this is a revolution in printing. And so is that viable? Could Apple sell a laser printer? Absolutely. People go to the Apple store, they buy a MacBook, they'll buy a printer with an Apple label on it. No brainer, right? You think, oh, same company must work together better. No problem, it's viable. Is it valuable? I would argue that it's not. That another laser printer from Apple doesn't dent the universe, doesn't make the world a better place. And is it validating? Well, what would Apple selling a laser printer validate? Nothing. People already have to print, we know that. There's nothing that it really proves out, right? So for Apple, making a laser printer does not pass my MVVVP test. It passes the MVP test, but not the VVVP test. So I'm asking you to raise your game. It's not just viable. It's not as simple as I can sell it for more than it costs to make. I also want you to make it valuable and validating. The third thing is to get going. This is kind of a duhism, but my God, so many entrepreneurs, they want to spend so much time getting ready. And the way it works in Silicon Valley is we ship and then we test, okay? I mean, I hope none of you are in biotech, but basically that's the way it works. And so let's talk about getting going. Step number one, when you look back, I hope that you cringe. That you say to yourself, my God, we shipped a piece of shit. What were we thinking? Because if you don't cringe like this, it probably means you're dead or you shipped too late. I think by definition, if you have a successful company, you're going to look back and say, we shipped a piece of crap. It makes me cringe. My first book is called The Macintosh Way. It was written in the mid-'80s, and I look at that book and I read it now and I just cringe. I think it's so crude. It like embarrasses me. And yet I know that that was the start of my writing career. I had to start someplace. So it's okay to cringe, okay? Don't try to ship something perfect. Second thing is, you need to find complementary soulmates. The two important words in here are complementary and soul. Complementary refers to the fact that you're not all the same kind of person and you don't all have the same skill set. You need to complement each other. So if you're the nerd, you need a salesperson. If you're the salesperson, you need a nerd. If you only had nerds, nobody would sell everything. If you only had salespeople, you wouldn't have anything to sell. You need a nerd and you need a salesperson. You need Steve Jobs, you need Steve Wozniak. That's complementary. Don't just hire all engineers. Certainly don't hire all MBAs, okay? You need both. The soulmate part is that at a fundamental level, the founders of a company need to be on the same page. That if one founder believes that the company is his reason for living, and the other founder believes that this is a lifestyle company, kind of a hobby, something you'll do on the side, when the kids are asleep and the house is clean and life is perfect, you'll work on this. You're not on the same page. If one person believes that they want to work the rest of their lives in this company and make this fantastic company, and the other person just wants to flip it. They just want to work a couple years and quickly flip it for a few million. You're not on the same page. You need to be soulmates. You need to be on the same page. The third thing is that I want you to make a mantra. A mantra is a 2 or 3 word explanation for why your company exists. The mantra for Canva is democratize design. In 2 words, I can explain Canva. It is something like Wikipedia. It democratizes knowledge. 2 words. It's 2 or 3 words. I think many people, particularly if they come from a large consulting firm, such as McKinsey, they would have like a 50-word mission statement. And the 50-word mission statement seeks to cover every possible stakeholder and shareholder in the entire ecosphere of the company. So it was something along the lines like, we endeavor to create products and services that exceed the expectations of our customers while providing a meaningful return to our shareholders, while enabling our employees to self-actualize their life goals, while killing as few dolphins and whales as possible. Okay? I think that's a total bullshit mission statement. Your mission statement should be 2 or 3 words. Make a mantra. The next thing is to define a business model. Also a duhism, but my God, many people, they have really literally no clue about a business model. At some level, you know, you're gonna have to make money. Just come to grips with that. So step number 1 is be very specific. Don't wave your hands and say, well, we're an enterprise software company. You know, you need to be so specific, down to practically a person. You need to be able to say, she has my money in her pocket. My job is to get the money out of her pocket into my pocket. That's how specific. She temporarily has our money. Our business model is to get it away from her. Okay? That's the business model. So it's not enough to say enterprise software company. It should be, we're an enterprise software company focusing on biotech, specifically the FDA approval process. And our specific buyer is the person who's coordinating the trial of a drug in a biotech firm. I mean, it should be that specific. Secondly, you need to keep it simple. You know, there are so many ways you can innovate in a company, but the most interesting and the most lasting and the most valuable is in the product or the service. If you try to innovate on the product and the service and the business model, you're trying to boil the ocean, right? Like arguably Mark Benioff with Salesforce.com created a new business model. I grant you that. But other than that, I don't think the innovation should be in your business model. You just don't get so clever, okay? Just build something great. Make it for $1, sell it for $5 and declare victory, okay? Third thing is, I think when you come up with an idea, you should ask women what they think of the idea. Now, let me tell you why. Because I believe that deep in the DNA structure of every man is the desire to kill things. So men want to kill plants, they want to kill animals, they want to kill people, they want to kill other companies, they want to kill other products, they want to kill other services. And women do not have this fundamental genetic flaw. So when you ask a man, should I start a company to kill Photoshop? Should I start a company to kill PowerPoint? Should I start a company to kill Airbnb, Uber, Cisco, Yahoo, Apple, Microsoft? Every man is going to say, great idea. Go out and kill those bastards, right? When you ask women, women don't have this fundamental flaw. So you get much better judgment of a business model from a woman than a man. Basically, don't waste your time asking men about business models. Only ask women. Number five is to weave a mat. So I love to play hockey. And one of the little pleasures of hockey is that when you come out on the ice right after the Zamboni, because the ice is really perfectly smooth and there's no sort of dusty, you know, snow anywhere, and it's just no cuts and no grooves. It's beautiful. It's kind of like being the first person down a mountain skiing, right? There's no grooves, no cuts, no other tracks. It's just like beautiful virgin snow or ice. Well, when you start a company, it's just like that, right? When you're in an existing company, you got these employees you never should have hired. You got this crappy office you never should have rented. You have this crappy furniture you hate. You got this crappy architecture that you regret. You have these pain-in-the-ass customers. And like, that's the reality once you ship. But prior to shipping, it's like pure snow, pure ice. And when you're in that situation, man, everything looks like it's fun. And everything looks like it's the same priority. And that's a fundamental flaw. So this is the pecking order of what you need to do. The first thing in MAT is you need to establish some milestones. A milestone, very good test, is would you call your spouse and brag that you finished it? For example, honey, today we finished the design. Honey, today we shipped. Honey, today we sold our first copy. Honey, today we got paid for our first copy. You do not call up your spouse and say, honey, today I went to FedEx office and I ordered business cards. Honey, today I went to IKEA and I bought a stand-up table kit. Okay? That's not a milestone. But when you start a company, it seems like, wow, we gotta get the logo, we gotta buy the domain, we gotta go to IKEA, you know, we gotta go to Staples, and we gotta get all this stuff. And none of that is meaningful. It's the milestone. Second thing is you need to test your assumptions. This is a very important thing because many people, and I bet some of you, you have a pitch like this. So let me give you a classic Silicon Valley pitch. Let's go back in time and say it's for pets.com. Let me give you the pitch for pets.com. 1 in 4 Americans own a dog. 75 million dogs, okay? Each dog eats 2 cans of dog food per day. 150 million cans of dog food per day, total addressable market. Dogs eat 365 days a year. It's not like B2B. This is a B2C business. Actually, it's a B2D business, but anyway. So with our patent-pending curve jump paradigm-shifting website that was created by my rock star programmers, because I've never heard an entrepreneur hire anything less than a rock star programmer. By definition, you would think the normal distribution of programmers are going to be some crappy ones and some rock stars, but every entrepreneur who's ever pitched me said, you know, those other companies, they have crappy programmers, but we have rock stars, okay? So 150 million cans of dog food are sold per day. With our rock star programmers and with all our black hat SEO magic so that anytime anybody types dog into Google, we're going to be the first result on the page. How hard could it be to get a mere conservative 1% of the total addressable market? 1% of 150 million cans of dog food per day is 1.5 million cans of dog food per day. Right, times 365. So worst case, conservatively speaking, in our first year, we'll sell 400 or 500 million cans of dog food. I'm totally confident of that. Well, you have a lot of assumptions in that thing. Like, for example, you know, can you get 1% of the people to buy cans of dog food from you? And if you did a bottom-up analysis as opposed to a top-down analysis, you'd say, okay, so using all our SEO black magic, maybe we can get, I don't know, 100,000 uniques to our site. And let's be conservative. 1% of those 100,000 people actually buy a case of dog food. So now we've gone from 100,000 to 1,000. So 1,000 people a month buy a case of dog food with 20 cans in the case. 1,000 times 20 is 20,000. So using a bottom-up analysis, we sell 20,000 cans of dog food a month. Doing a top-down analysis, we do 1.5 million cans of dog food per month. I don't want to break the bad news to you, but on that spectrum of 20,000 to 1.5 million, guess where you're going to be, okay? Much closer to the 20,000. So the second thing you really need to do is test your assumptions. Can you truly sell 1% of the people in China something? You know, because 1% of the people in China is a big number. I mean, for crying out loud, 1% of the dogs in America is a big number. Imagine all the people in China. Assumptions. Third thing is now you do tests. You launch your website, you launch your product. Now you're doing something really tangible. All the bullshit stops. All the positioning and all the self-congratulatory isn't this neat ends and reality hits. And finally, this is where you start doing tasks. So now you have to hire an engineer so that you can finish the design and test your assumption about how many people will use your product by launching the site. So this is the pecking order. Milestone, assumption, test, and tasks. Number six, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to be able to tell your story. Because every entrepreneur is going to stand up on a stage like this and they're going to say, I have patent pending, curve jumping, paradigm shifting product, right? We have a world-class team. We have a proven technology, and we have a rising market. No one else can do what we do. Every one of you is going to say that. And so the problem is that the person who pitched at 8 a.m. said that, 9 a.m. said that, 10 a.m., 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, or 4, 7 days a week. Everybody says that. So I first ask you, maybe you could apply the opposite test. So the way the opposite test works is, ask yourself if your competition is saying something that is the opposite of you. Are they using the opposite adjectives? So if you stand up and you say, my product is fast, bug-free, intuitive, and can scale. Now ask yourself, is your competition saying, my product is shit, slow, buggy, and cannot scale? Because if your competition is saying that, then yes, you are saying something different. But generally speaking, every entrepreneur says, fast, scalable, bug-free, easy to use. Our beta sites love our product. Apply the opposite test. Number 2 is to make it personal, which is to say that instead of talking about mega trends and these large visions and these large tsunamis, I want you to make it personal. Like, so this is for one person with one pug getting food for that pug. It's about a very personal sale. You started this company because you wanted a better way to do graphics. It's not about the mega trend of, well, there are over 3 billion graphics created per year. If we could just get 1% of the 3 billion graphics, you don't realize how many graphics that would be. It is about one person sitting at one computer making beautiful graphics. It's about one dog owner. It's about one person trying to cure breast cancer. It is about one person taking a good video and uploading it instantly. Make it personal. The third thing is to embrace what I call the 10-20-30 rule. Please tell me you already know this. So the 10-20-30 rule is that the optimal number of slides, oops, I clicked too fast. Now I clicked too far back. The optimal number of slides in a PowerPoint presentation is 10. 10. That's all you need. 10 topics in a slide presentation. You may be wondering, well, Guy, you're like such a hypocrite. You're on probably number 30 already, right? Why are you telling me to use 10 and you're on number 30? I'll tell you why. You are not me. Okay? So you use 10 slides. You do these 10 slides in 20 minutes. You may have an hour, but to this day, many people still use a Windows laptop, and I know from personal experience, somebody walks in with a Windows laptop, they need 40 minutes to make it work with the projector, okay? 10 slides, 20 minutes, and 30-point font. The ideal font size is 30 points. Very good rule of thumb, figure out who the oldest person is in the audience, divide his or her age by 2. You're pitching to a 60-year-old VC, 30 points. 50-year-old VC, 25 points. 16-year-old VC, God bless you, use the 8-point font, okay? But until that day, 10 slides, 20 minutes, 30-point font. If you did nothing else but take all your text, change it to 30 points, and cut away text until it fits on the page, you would double the quality of your presentation. I've never seen a presentation where the font was too big. Never. Never seen that. And my next slide, so notice the elegance of this slide. Notice the impact. You can't tell where this seam is between this panel and this panel. You can't tell if my slide is 4:3 or 16:9. You look at my slide and you say, Guy obviously didn't simply boot PowerPoint, add a text block and start typing, right? He went to the master page and he created a black background. And then he changed his font from, Times Roman to Arial black, and he made it white. I mean, this guy really cares about the presentation, the professionalism, and the gravitas of his presentation. And then there's what you guys do, which is you do white background, black text. And what this says is, I'm clueless. I booted PowerPoint. I opened up a new page. I put in a text box. I started typing in black, right? Black is the new black, okay? Take all your text, 30 points, white. Go to the master page, make it black. I'm telling you, this is a much, much better way to do things, is white on black. And I'll tell you a funny story. So, one day, I meet with this entrepreneur. It's about 11 in the morning. And he's already pitched once, okay? And he says, Guy, I pitched once. I'm going to pitch again in the afternoon. He happened to be an entrepreneur who was black. And he says to me, Guy, you got any tips for me? What can I do to make my pitch better? And I said to him, is your background black? And he said, yeah, I'm from Atlanta. So, yeah, I come from a multiracial family. I said, no, I can tell you're black. I want to know, is your background on your PowerPoint black? Because if you simply did that, well, this is a much better slide than this. So select your text, 30 points, white on a black background. You're better than 90% of the pitches right there. Number 7 is to hire infected people. And by this I mean you need to ignore the irrelevant. There are 2 kinds of irrelevancy. Everybody's trained when you hire people to look for 2 things, education and work experience. I would like you to add a 3rd variable, which is, do they get it? Do they love what we do? Right? So sometimes you'll meet people who have the perfect background, education, perfect background, work, but they don't get it. You can see that they don't think that you are denting the universe, that it's viable, valuable, and validating. In that case, I will tell you that their perfect background is irrelevant. You need to ignore that. You'll also have the flip case, where you meet somebody and they can love what you do, and they clearly understand, and you can see it in their eyes that they just love what you do. And then you check their resume, and they have a degree in psychology, not in computer science. And prior to their high-tech career, they were working for a small family-owned jewelry manufacturer in downtown LA. And so you think, oh my God, this can't be the right person. Psych degree, Bachelor of Arts, not Bachelor of Science, background in counting and schlepping diamonds, not working for HP, not working for MIT Media Lab, and we shouldn't hire this person. I will tell you, in that case, you should also ignore the irrelevancy of the lack of the perfect background. So, by the way, that case I was describing is me. I have a psych degree. I came from the jewelry business when I went to work for Apple. So my thing is, you know what? Okay, I understand. You have to check work experience. You have to check education. But also check the box. Do they get it, and do they love what we do? Second thing is to hire better than yourself. Easily said, very hard to do. It should be a source of pride that everybody on the team is better at what they do than you could do what they do. That's the definition of a great manager. Someone who's an A player hires an A+ player. Someone who's a B player hires a C player. Someone who's a C player hires a D player. And if you start hiring B players, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be surrounded by Z players. This is what we call in Silicon Valley the bozo explosion. You need to fight the bozo explosion. Next thing is to apply the shopping center test. The way this works is you're at a shopping center. You see a candidate for your company. I'm here, candidate is at the back wall. I see the candidate. The candidate has not yet seen me. I can have one of several reactions. I can just go right to that person and say, man, I hope you join our company. We are going to just kick ass. We're going to change the world. We're going to democratize design. Come join us. That's one reaction. Another reaction is, the shopping center isn't that big. If by chance we actually get face-to-face, I'll say hello. Third reaction is I'm going to get in my car, go to another shopping center. I would make the case that in a startup, because it's a family, although many times a dysfunctional family, the first reaction to seeing someone who might join your team is you should want to make a beeline straight to that person and say, I know you're interviewing at our company. I hope you'll join us. That should be the emotional reaction to when you see somebody. The eighth thing is to socialize. You know what? For an entrepreneur today, we are just in a fantastic time. Because when I started in tech entrepreneurship in the 80s, you had to pay like $75,000 for an ad in the Wall Street Journal. Okay? Today, for $75,000, you could have an intern for a year. Right? So social media is fast, and it's free, and it's ubiquitous. It is just the best thing that ever happened to entrepreneurship because you can do marketing so cheaply. So to socialize, first of all, you have to perfect your profiles. Okay? Your avatar should be only of your face. Your cover story should tell the picture of your brand or the picture of the story of your interests and your passions. If it's a company webpage, it's the logo for the avatar, and then the cover photo should show what you stand for, show some evocative picture. Next thing is to embrace the NPR model. NPR provides great content all year long. Every once in a while it runs the pledge drive. The reason why NPR can get away with the pledge drive is because it provides great content. People feel like they need to reciprocate to NPR because NPR has been providing Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, This American Life, Fresh Air, all this great content. So for crying out loud, unless you're a sociopath, the least you can do is tolerate the pledge drive. And in fact, you should give money. Same thing is true of Wikipedia, right? Wikipedia has gotten all this great information. Right now we're running a pledge drive. When you see that banner, for crying out loud, click on the banner, give $10, right? It's because Wikipedia and because NPR has earned the right to promote. So you need to put yourself in that mindset that you use social media to promote information, promote analysis, promote entertainment, to add value to people's lives, and then you earn the right to promote your company 1 out of 20 times. So I am sharing what I consider interesting and valuable content all day long. And every once in a while I hit you with my pledge drive, which is buy my book, use Canva. That's my pledge drive. Next thing is to pass the reshare test. This is a very good conceptual test for you. When you share, you should believe that what you share is so interesting, so valuable, that not only will your followers like it, but they will like it so much they will reshare it to their followers. So this is the difference between tipping a waiter and telling people to eat at the restaurant. You can tip a waiter, no big deal, no skin off your butt. But if you tell people to eat at the restaurant, you are risking your reputation. If they go to that restaurant and it sucks, you look like a fool. So when you tell somebody to eat at a restaurant, you're risking your reputation. When you reshare somebody else's content, you are risking your reputation, right? You're telling people, I think what Guy posted is so good, even you will like it. That's the test. And if you pass the reshare test, it means that you and your brand will be exposed to more people because now it's not just your followers, it's the followers of your followers. And then you will get more followers, and then social media is more powerful for you, and then marketing is even more effective, and it's a beautiful upward spiral, right? You want to get all the followers you can. Many people in social media say it's not the quantity, it's about the quality of the interaction and the right demographics and the right people following it. Total bullshit, okay? Let me tell you something. There's only 2 kinds of people on social media. People who want more followers and people who are lying, okay? Everybody wants more followers. Clearly, that guy's not a liar. Number 9. Number 9 is about making it rain. For those of you from France, seeding the clouds makes it rain. Rain means you make sales. Okay, so this is an American euphemism for sales. So I have a theory. My theory is that, and this is something you should tweet, sales fixes everything. Which is to say that as long as you have sales and you have cash coming in, you are still in the game. As long as you have sales, your investors are not going to bother you because they have so many companies in their portfolio that have no sales. So if you look at their portfolio, you say, this company has sales, these 19 companies don't have sales. Guess which one they're going to leave alone? You. You want them to leave you alone. Sales fixes everything. When you're selling, people feel more passionate about working there. People start completing each other's sentences. Life is good. Now you can have the off-site at the Ritz-Carlton. Now you can have masseuses come in. You can have a chef. You can have sand volleyball. Sales fixes everything. And a lot of people say, well, no, Guy, it's about the strategic positioning and the branding and the partnerships, and all that is bullshit, okay? Sales fixes everything. The leading cause of failure is death. And the primary cause of death is running out of money. And as long as you have sales, you still have money, you're still in the game. Sales fixes everything. I have never seen a company that is making great sales that has a morale problem. They might have totally clueless management, they may be screwing stuff up, but everybody's happy, okay? Sales fixes everything. So, number one, you need to let 100 flowers blossom. This is stolen from Chairman Mao, and I failed to see how he ever implemented this. Maybe he let 100 flowers blossom and then cut them off. But letting 100 flowers blossom means that despite your marketing and branding, your positioning, you think you know exactly who should buy your product and what they should do with it. Once you ship, you lose control of all of that. And if you are lucky, a very interesting thing will happen, which is, my God, people are using our product or service. And these people were not our target market. Lots of companies freak out when this happens. My God, the wrong people are buying our products. That is really stupid attitude. Always take the money. Declare victory. I don't know how to, are you the people from France? Yeah? Let me tell you how it works in America. I don't care what book you read, what movie you've seen, whatever. It's all bullshit. Let me tell you how it really works. Especially if you read books written by venture capitalists. The way it works in Silicon Valley, we throw a lot of stuff on the wall. 1 out of 20 sticks. We go up to the wall. We paint a bullseye around it. And we say, we hit the bullseye. That's how it works. So if you ask these investors, how did you know Google would be successful? How did you know that Snapchat would be successful? Uber, Airbnb? Every investor will say, well, we met with the team and I had this gut feeling that this was a very intelligent team. They had vision, they had passion, they were going to work hard. And I saw that, lots of people wanted to invite total strangers to sleep in their house. I knew that was a big market. And I knew that they could scale, because how hard could it be offering infinite rooms to infinite people? That's not a hard scaling problem. So I knew that Airbnb would be successful. I knew that Dropbox would be successful. I knew when I met the founders of YouTube, and they came in and they said, well, we need infinite server space. We need infinite bandwidth. And we're going to enable people to upload illegal video. And what's going to make us tip is when people start dropping Mentos into Diet Cokes. And I looked at that team and I said, I know you will be successful. And then you ask them, well, then why did your company invest $50 million in Webvan? And you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, my partners did that deal. I told them not to do that deal. So what I'm trying to tell you, I don't know how I got down that rat hole, but I just love to rip on venture capitalists, okay? So letting 100 flowers blossom means that, you ship a Macintosh and you think that it's for spreadsheet, database, and word processing. And come to find out, it's for desktop publishing. So you freaking declare victory. We designed Macintosh for desktop publishing, not for people to do boring things like crank spreadsheets or enter data into cells. Desktop publishing, we're democratizing publishing. You declare victory. Let 100 flowers blossom. Next thing is you enable test drives. Basically, you say to people, I think you're smart, and because I think you're smart, I'm not going to bludgeon you into becoming my customer. I'll let you try Canva. I let you try Dropbox, Evernote, whatever. Then you decide. Then you find the key influencers. Now, this is kind of a duhism too. Like, you know, Guy, thank you very much for the advice to find the influencers. Because until I saw this bullet, I was going to go find the people who are not influential. Now you set me on the right path. Thank you very much. You know, thank you, Nasdaq, for bringing me here. But what I'm trying to tell you is that I think many people believe in the theory of the early adoption, the adoption curve, the life cycle, where the pioneers embrace something and they convince the early adopters convince the, you know, sort of late stage adopters, the late stage adopters then convert the majority, and finally there's the laggards. So information travels from, you know, Robert Scoble and The Verge and TechCrunch down to Trixie and Biff on Main Street, because everybody's looking up the pyramid and saying, well, Robert Scoble said to use Snapchat, so I should use Snapchat. That may have been true in the old days, okay? Still could be true. I'm not saying if the Wall Street Journal wants to write about you, you turn that down. But I'm telling you there is a different model now, and it's because of social media. And because of social media, I don't think people are defaulting to the experts, to the 1% at the top of the pyramid. For example, in book publishing, it used to be that you waited for the New York Times book review to review a novel. And if the New York Times said this is a novel worth reading, then you went out and bought that book. The New York Times essentially made books successful. Okay? Today, on Kindle, a book ships. 24 hours later, there are 50 reviews. They average 4.5 stars. The first one is from lonelyboy15@AOL.com. Okay? It's not by the New York Times Book Review. It's not by Kirkus. It's not by Publishers Weekly. It's lonelyboy15 who still lives at home with his mother, Buzz Lightyear sheets, 25-year-old virgin. Okay? So this is not the Wall Street Journal. This is not the New York Times. This is not the Washington Post. This is lonelyboy15. So you read lonelyboy15's review. You see it averages 4.5 stars. You click. Uh-oh, there goes lonelyboy15. You click. You click, and it's in your cart. This is a whole different world, right? Because now I think that basically nobodies are the new somebodies. So now you have to redefine what an influencer is. It is not The Verge. It's not TechCrunch. Don't get me wrong. It's great to be in that because it helps more Lonely Boy 15s try your service. But those kind of things, at top of the pyramid, it doesn't make a product anymore. You know, if you ever get a story about you in TechCrunch or Verge or any of these things, you'll see a very interesting phenomenon. So when you're in that day, your traffic will go from 1,000 visitors to 15,000. That's day one. Day two, it's back to 5,000. Day three, it's 1,000. That's it. So you're like praying for coverage by some of these top of the pyramid analysts and influencers, and you're going to find out that it doesn't really move the needle. Really, you want hundreds and thousands of Lonely Boy 15s to be telling their 15 followers to try your product. Number 10. Number 10 is you don't let the clowns grind you down. I'm going to tell you right now that lots of people are going to tell you it can't be done, it shouldn't be done, it isn't necessary. There are two kinds of clowns, or what I like to call bozos in the world. One bozo, slovenly, disgusting, pocket protector, Japanese watch, rusty car. You look at that person and you say, clearly this person is a loser. This is not the dangerous bozo, because only a loser would listen to a loser. So if you're not a loser, you don't have to worry about the loser bozo. The dangerous bozo is the winner bozo. The winner bozo dresses in all black. The winner bozo owns lots of stuff that end in I, like Armani, Lamborghini, Maserati, Ferrari. The winner bozo has car doors that open like this, not like this. The winner bozo has 3 commas in his net worth, right? That's the dangerous bozo. Because that bozo, you think rich, famous, successful parses to smart. You need to be cautious of that, because many times rich, famous, successful parses to lucky not smart. You know, if you want to take religious advice from Tom Cruise, God bless you. You want to learn how to raise a family from Kim Kardashian, God bless you, okay? That's the dangerous bozo. So I believe that bozosity is like the flu. How do you fight the flu? You get a shot. Shot is a little bit of flu, so that when you encounter big flu, your body has built resistance. I'm going to give you some bozosity right now. So someday when somebody tells you can't be done, shouldn't be done, isn't necessary, you remember the night that you went to Nasdaq's facility in San Francisco and you said, Guy Kawasaki showed me where a really rich, famous, successful person was so totally wrong. So I'm not going to believe this naysayer. So I think there's a world market for maybe 5 computers. Chairman of IBM allegedly said that. I have 5 Macintoshes in my house. In other words, I have all the computers he anticipated in the world in my house. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered a means of communication. The device is inherently of no value to us. Western Union wrote off telephony in 1876. How many of you use Western Union lately? You know, probably none of you, right? Western Union today should be PayPal, should be Square, should be Bitcoin. But it's very hard to go from telegraph to Bitcoin if you write off telephone in the middle. You know what I'm saying? It's just too big a chasm to cross. There's no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home. Ken Olsen, founder of DEC, he was a fantastic entrepreneur, fantastic innovator, created a very successful company called Digital Equipment Corporation. Many of you probably never heard of this company because you weren't born yet. But this is like a humongous success. So imagine this. You know how many people who are advising you are telling you, you need to get some advisors, someone who brings credibility, industry experience, right? It'll help you get more shareholders, more investors. It'll be a proxy for quality. You'll be able to recruit better people. You need to get a world-class board of advisors. Okay, so let's pretend that you're Steve Jobs or Steve Wozniak, and you go to a computer electronics show or you go to Comdex, right? And this is mid-70s, and you're starting Apple. And you're at Caesar's Palace, and you get in an elevator, and lo and behold, there's Ken Olsen. This is your moment in the sun, right? Who would be better advisor for Apple Computer than Ken Olsen, founder of DEC, so successful, mini computer pioneer. Everybody would be doing backflips. Ken Olsen is an advisor to us, right? But then Ken Olsen is so successful making mini computers, he cannot embrace personal computers. So you're Woz and you're Jobs and you're in the Caesar's Palace elevator and you say, Mr. Olsen, we know you're the founder of DEC. We know you believe in mini computers, but we have a different vision. Our vision that computers are small, cheap, easy to use, Mr. Olsen. So small, so cheap, so easy to use, Mr. Olsen. You could put a computer in your house. And Mr. Olsen's response is, there is no reason why anyone would put a computer in their house. If they want to balance their checkbook, they'll drive back to the office and they'll use Quicken running on a DEC mini computer. What's the problem? So before you waste your life, son, learn COBOL and come work for us at Digital Equipment. And there would be no Apple today. This is dangerous bozosity. Now, I cannot tell you that every time somebody says you'll fail, it means you'll succeed. I wish it was that easy. But if you listen to people and they tell you it can't be done, shouldn't be done, and you don't try, you will never, ever know. And that is the worst outcome of all. So don't let the clowns grind you down. And that is the 10th and final point of the Art of the Start 2.0. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, that was fun. By the way, to clarify, the book that this class reads,
Yeah.
is this one right here. Yeah, and we actually got the 2.0 version too.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
So your publisher, like what's that, $40 in royalties?
Yeah, for book?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish.
For what? No, total. For our 40 person class.
I would drive a Ferrari.
So you just updated the Art of the Start.
Yeah.
A lot has changed just in the 10 years or so, in the first time. So what are some of the things that stayed consistent, and what are some of the things that changed, that really were different?
Art of the Start 1 to 2. I still think that the most important thing is that you prototype, not that you do a forecast. It's about getting your prototype out. Unfortunately, I was not as clever as Greece. I didn't come up with this great acronym MVP. What I say in Art of the Start 1.0 is, don't worry, be crappy, which I actually think is funnier than MVP, but it just doesn't have the same appeal to people like you. So I think that is the same.
Right.
I wrote about 10, 20, 30, 10 years ago. I still think that's true. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I meet with teams and they come in and they say, you know, we really love your writing. We've seen all your YouTube videos. We've read all your books. And they open up their PowerPoint and it's 60 slides, 6-point font, black type on white background, and I just want to puke. I mean, I want to say to them, how can you tell me you read my book and you have 60 slides? Like, what's wrong with you? You're such a liar. So that, now what has changed between 1 and 2 is, like, when I wrote Art of the Start 1, there was no such thing as crowdsourcing, there was no crowdfunding, there was no social media. There was, back in, when I wrote the first book, if you wanted servers, you had to buy servers. What a concept. There was no, you know, AWS, spend $2,000 with Amazon and get 2 terabytes in the sky. It was very different economics. And so that's what really forced me to rewrite the book. Yeah. So much has changed. I think one very big change is that today, I don't think it's necessary for you to write a business plan anymore. I think you just do a great pitch. And very few people who are seriously interested in your company are going to ask for a business plan. And also, if you have a business plan, it's not going to turn someone who's not interested into someone who is interested. I've never seen that work. So I think the ideal thing is you have a 10-slide pitch. The first slides basically address what the hell you do. To give you a metaphor, an airplane metaphor, you know, think of a 747, a 777, or Airbus 380, and you know, you're taking off from SFO and you need all 2 miles of the runway. You know, you just go blah, 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 and like 2 miles later, just before you hit the water, you take off and you think, another miracle, 747 has taken off. That's one kind of airplane. Another kind of airplane is an F-18. So an F-18 is on an aircraft carrier. It has 150 meters. It goes from 0 to, you know, 150 kilometers in 2 seconds, right? And it just goes boom, and it goes off. That's what your pitch should be like. And so to bring it even more tactically, you know, I've sat in many pitches, and it's because I think of people reading books and attending panels that whenever you go to a panel where there's a venture capitalist, the moderator always asks, you know, what are you looking for in the company you want to invest in? And every venture capitalist says, the team. Which I think is total bullshit, because at the time you make the decision, you really don't know if the team is any good. It's only after the fact you say, well, yeah, I knew Larry and Sergey were a great team. Well, yeah, oh, how about Webvan? And you know, they were a great team too. Or were you like stupid back then and say, oh, I'll invest in teams I don't believe in. So one of those 2 things is true. Anyway, don't get me started. So anyway, you know, so I want you to take off, and what happens in many pitches is the entrepreneurs have heard that venture capitalists or investors are looking for teams. So you spend the first 15 minutes saying, well, my ancestors came across in the Mayflower, they landed in Plymouth, they started the first, I don't know, you know, blacksmith, and then they jumped to the next curve and they made tires, and now, you know, they endowed a chair at Dartmouth, and so I attended Dartmouth, and after Dartmouth, I had a summer internship at Goldman Sachs, where I learned the value of not adding value to society. And so after my internship at Goldman Sachs, I went to Harvard MBA because I wanted to learn how to lead people in the Harvard MBA program case study. Then I came out west, and I worked for Google in their strategic alliance department where I learned how to judge people. And meanwhile, I was also taking .NET classes at night because I wanted to be
So we're about to run out of
multiple-platform.
time, I think.
Well, but I'm
Yeah,
exactly
exactly.
right. So, you know, this is a freaking 747.
Yeah,
and really,
exactly.
an F-18, you would say, okay, so if I were coming in to pitch you and, you know, I was pitching you on Canva, I would say, Canva is an online graphics tool. Fast, free, and easy version of Photoshop. In fact, I will make you a promise that you can create a graphic in Canva faster than you can boot Photoshop. That's what we do. That's an F-18. Yeah. It's not about, you know, 5 million graphics are created every day and your visual marketing is important and, you know, that, I don't know, all that bullshit. Yeah. Think F-18. Can I give you one more analogy? Because like nobody's leaving, right? So another analogy, a very good mindset for you is to think of online dating. So in online dating, there are two extremes. At one extreme, there's eHarmony. 29 fields of psychographic information. Are you warm? Are you friendly? You know, are you outgoing? Are you introverted? Do you like to walk on beaches? Do you like to climb mountains? Because you're trying to find your soulmate and you're going to hold hands, completing each other's sentences on windswept beaches, drinking white wine, wearing your Birkenstocks and your perfect children who don't need any tutoring, don't have ADHD, pick between Dartmouth and Harvard. You know, that's the purpose of eHarmony. At the other side of online dating, there is Tinder. Interesting, not interesting, interesting, not interesting. I'm telling you right now, life is Tinder. It is not eHarmony. And a venture capitalist is going to make a decision in the first, really, about 120 seconds. Interesting, not interesting. It is Tinder. This is a Tinder world. It is not an eHarmony world.